All right. So the way that we operate schools and athletic departments, it was already becoming more digital. But this year with 2020 with COVID, that's just been exponentially accelerated into the digital. Just the digital side of athletic departments, and even it's already been that way with college, but that's definitely accelerated the high school transformation into the digital side. When you became athletic director back in 2013, that was 7 years ago. This was one of the things that created an initiative on. You focused on digital media. What was it? What was it that you saw that made you want to lean into this digital side as an athletic director?
Yeah, I think, again, it was 7 years ago, but what became very evident and obvious was that things were moving towards digital media, specifically social media. And so what I went back to is really trying to define who is your audience as it relates to being an athletic director. Who are you trying to communicate with? And really, those things haven't changed over the course of time. It's just how are you doing that? And obviously, the athletes at that time, they were very involved in social media that had taken over. Parents were very involved. And so as an athletic director, essentially just making the decision that if that's our audience and that's the venue or the medium that people are using, then I felt like that it would be very important for us as a program at that time to also invest in that area. And so, we wanted to make that, really a primary way that we were communicating from our athletic department, knowing that the athletes and the parents were also using those same sources of social media to receive their content and information.
Very good. And you talked about the different audiences. What were some of those? I mean, obviously you have the athletes, you have the parents. Like, who were some of the people that you were, as an athletic director, who were some of the people, some of your main audience, other than just the athletes and the parents? Was there anybody else, or were those the two main audiences?
No, really, my thought process was at the time, your audience, whether it be a business or in this particular case, a school or athletic department, people are going to get on social media and they're going to try and find you. And the question really becomes is what do you want people to see when they get there? And so that audience really can expand out to multiple things. It could be current students, it could be prospective students, parents, other athletic directors, other schools, potential sponsors. Those are all groups of people or businesses potentially that I saw as this is the audience. This is who our target market is. This is who we're looking at. And really it came back to marketing is how are we wanting to market the program? And with the expansion of families moving to the suburbs, what has become evident is that people are moving, and when they're moving, they're looking for schools. They're looking for education for their children. And in the past, probably the first step is people would come and visit a campus. They would get on the campus just to do a tour. But nowadays, that's not the case. People are going straight to social media, or they're going to a website, and they're wanting to see how are you highlighting your programs, how are you highlighting your kids. And so those became really glaring groups in my mind of potential target audiences.
Yeah. And just to give people perspective, we worked at a private school, so there was definitely a specific, there was a marketing department. That was something that we had to bring in, students. But one of the conversations that I've had many times is now with many coaches, as I've reached out to a lot of coaches and ADs, is the fact that that's happening in public schools now. At least here in Texas, I mean, there just continues to be, as kids move, they continue to. I mean, they're moving to good. If it's a football player, they're moving to a established football program with a specific coach, and so that's where we've talked about that. As your situation has changed of being an athletic director, now you're, more of the parent view, a business owner and a parent. What are some things that you think that, even just with that change in perspective, what are some things that you think that athletic directors specifically need to be thinking about now?
Again, I think it goes back to what do people see when they find you on social media? And, the old saying is that athletics is the front porch of every school.
Yeah.
And so I think then you need to ask yourself the question, what do people see when they get there? And that's why I'm so excited about our platform is that one, anybody can do it. It's so easy. But at the same time, it's a great way to put out quality graphics so that you can control the narrative. You have the opportunity to control the narrative so that when people come and they do find you, what is it that you want people to see? And it's a great opportunity for people to really control that.
Yeah. Yeah. And our platform, GoEdit Graphics, it's $500 for an entire year. One of the things that we thought as we were choosing that price was, can every athletic department afford this? We would love this to be accessible to any size. As I've talked to a lot of athletic departments, some of them that's not an issue. And then some of them, especially right now, just with the uncertainty, there's just been some really tangible losses in gate revenue. I mean, there's some things that are some real issues with budgets and just being tight, specifically tied to 2020. But as an athletic director, as a former athletic director, how did you decide how to allocate those funds? How did you view digital media specifically? Graphics as part of that. How did you decide how to prioritize that as a department?
Yeah, good question. But going back to really why we started GoEdit Graphics and being all of us being former coaches, really at the core of our company and who we are is that we wanted to create a pricing model that anybody could afford, or we felt like that anybody could afford. And it's going back to that we still want to do great things for kids, and we're still wanting to do great things for coaches. And so but as it relates to just investing those resources, to me it went to payoff. And sometimes when you think of payoff, I think people get caught up in thinking I'm going to pay a certain amount of money in order to return a certain amount of money based upon what I pay. And really for me, it was a different mindset. It wasn't necessarily the payoff as it related to how much money I was going to be able to bring into the department. It was the payoff of, what is the exposure going to be? What type of branding can I create for my program? What type of marketing can I put out there? And I think that opens up a lot of doors, not only for existing parents and existing players, but again, going back to the potential for people are on the move. People are out looking around for a new home, and it gives you an opportunity to market to new students. It gives you the opportunity to market to businesses. And so to me, it really went back to payoff, and it wasn't how much money we could get, but it was, what type of groundwork could we lay, and what type of new audiences could we reach as a result of investing in that case specific graphics. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that we've talked about a lot is, graphics. I think this came up in a conversation with Football Scoops, Zach Barnett, and he said it's crazy, but graphics are one way that kids feel like they're cared for. And
Yeah.
he was specifically talking about from the recruiting point of view of colleges creating these graphics for their prospective or for the recruits that they're trying to get into their school. And one of his statements was, he said, that's how, he said, if a school sends a graphic to a kid, that kid feels cared for. How much does a Texas A&M, or how much does a Michigan care about their kid when they spend time to make this custom graphic for them?
Right.
Our hope is that we can also provide it for the high school, that these kids do care. Their lives are so much lived on social media. And if they can have a graphic made for them, But that shows that a coach cares. A coach is spending time. What are some other ways that that through graphics that I mean, as coaches, we as former coaches, I mean, that's what we coach for was so that those kids knew that we loved them, knew that we cared about them, we cared about their future. What are some of those? What's your thoughts on how graphics could be a way for those coaches to show that they care?
Well, for coaches, I think, the reason that people get into coaching, it's, they have a passion for a sport, they have a passion to impact and influence young people's lives. They love their athletes. And so those things haven't changed. It's the way that you express those things from what we have seen is potentially what's changed. And again, it's meeting people where they're at and knowing that in the college market today, if you're following any college, you're going to see a social media feed that's full of graphics, and so that's what people are seeing, and that's becoming the expectation. But what people, I think, at the high school level may assume is, we don't have the resources, meaning somebody on campus that can provide that for us, and they don't even know that it's an option for them to be able to look like a college program based upon the content that they're putting out from a graphics perspective. And that's why I'm so excited about what we're doing, is because really just trying to educate and let other athletic directors know that it is possible. There is an affordable solution, and what's so great about, I think, what we provide is it's so easy. You don't have to have a design skill background. You just essentially log in and make small changes, and you end up with a quality product. And so I think it just goes back to, coaches haven't changed. And the reason that they're coaching hasn't changed. It's just how you express those things nowadays. I think that's what's changed. And the better that you can do that, I think the kids will in turn see that and receive that.
Yeah, that's great. And specifically talking about our platform and the different graphics that you can make. Can you talk about just some of those main graphics and what if an athletic director was just starting, what are some of those graphics that almost the minimum? What would a coach where would a coach start, and what are some of those graphic options that that they should or could be making?
Yeah. So in athletics, obviously you have a lot of games, and I think the more that you can highlight those, could increase attendance. The more people that show up at games, the more revenue in which you receive. And so, we do a lot of game day graphics, just allowing coaches to be able to highlight the games in which are coming up on any given week. We have ways to highlight the athletes through player spotlights, and that could come in the form of things that athletes have done in a particular game, achievements, being awarded a captain per week, or other awards in which they've received. With just the changes in the NCAA and the recruiting not being able to get on campuses, we wanted to provide people an opportunity just to help their kids in the recruiting process. And so we have some player profiles that schools can create so that they can put on social media just to help their kids in that recruiting process. I remember being an athletic director and meeting with parents, and a lot of times, the question comes up, what are you doing to help my kid, my child,
Yeah.
get to the next level? And of course, every coach is trying to do everything they can to help. But I think this is a way that coaches can say, hey, we're putting your son or daughter out on social media, trying to help get that attention for them. And then again, as being a former athletic director, communication is key. And so we wanted to provide graphic templates so that athletic directors could communicate in those ways, just dressing it up. The same content that you would normally put out, you'd still have that opportunity, but it just dresses it up a little bit. And so those are a lot of the key things that we provide. And really at the end of the day, it goes back to highlighting your program as a whole, highlighting your individual programs or sports, and then highlighting and showcasing your athletes. And I think within those three categories, we have multiple template options that coaches could really jump into and have a lot of fun with.
Yeah. And our platform, if you're interested, you can go. One of the best places to go is our Twitter. our Twitter handle is at GoEditGraphics. We've got a ton of graphics that schools are already creating. It's been exciting for us to be able to see all the different graphics that those schools have created. Man, just the quantity that you can put out. One of our taglines is you can make custom graphics in under 2 minutes. And our hope is that people can put out a large quantity of high quality graphics, game day graphic for every one of your programs. Just time wise, our hope is that you can do that really quickly. And so if you're interested, if you go check out our Twitter. Also, you can find out more information on GoEditGraphics.com. You can also reach out to Zack or myself through DMs on Twitter. We're also getting we're looking at getting our LinkedIn account up. So pretty soon you'll be able to, maybe by the time you're listening, you'll be able to connect with us on LinkedIn. But we'd love to, if you have any questions, or if there's anything else that you would like to see on our platform, or that you would like to hear on our conversation, or ask Zack or myself, if you could just leave a comment. But we appreciate the time. Hope you have a great day.